Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. It's January 15th, 2024 this time around. So let's start with the moon. Let's see what the moon does this week. On the evening of the 15th, the moon will be about a quarter full, 25% full, and it's sitting very close to Neptune. We've seen this before. We've tried to have this set up where we don't know Neptune, right? It's hard to find Neptune if we've not seen it before. And the moon can help us if it's very near Neptune as it slides by, but usually the moon's too bright and it washes faint Neptune out and it's hard to see. That might not be the case with just a 25% full moon this time. So it starts the evening for me, as it gets dark, it starts the evening for me a little bit less than 2 degrees, the separation. The moon here, look above the moon and see if you can find a dot that's in there that's brighter than the other stars, and in your binoculars. So you're using your binoculars or a small telescope, and it will look non-twinkly. You can tell it has some extent to it. It has some size to it, so it actually looks like a disk a little bit and has a bluish-green color. The way that most stars do not. So give that a try. See if you can see it in your binoculars. If you can't, see if you can see it in a small telescope. It starts about 1.5 degrees, and as the evening wears on, that separation grows. And so if you don't catch it, for me, right here in the middle of the United States, we're looking at 5 o'clock in the middle of the United States. It's a good time to get out and look at this. It's getting light, staying light later, so 6 o'clock we're talking about. By a couple hours later, that's going to be 4 or 5 degrees and gets harder to find, but you can still do it. Okay? 3 nights later, the evening of the 18th, and we go all the way into the morning of the 19th. This is going to be visible basically most of the night. You've got a 60% full moon. So the moon's over half full now. We've got a waxing gibbous moon, and it has slipped over past Jupiter. So for me, it's about 3 to 4 degrees separates Jupiter and the moon. A nice pairing. As the evening wears on, that's going to separate quite a bit too. So watching this move as the evening wears on, watching that separation grow, could be fun. 3 more days later, and the 21st into the 22nd. Now in this region, it's up pretty much all night, 85% to 90% full moon. And it starts the night maybe 4 degrees from Elnath. Elnath, we've talked about a few times. It's one of the stars that we like to look at. It's in Taurus, and you've got the V of the Hyades, and you extend the upper leg of the V, the upper arm of the V out to the end, and you've got Elnath hanging out there a ways. And it's a relatively bright star, and the moon is going to start about 4 degrees away from Elnath, and it's just going to close as the night wears on. So that's a good one to watch all night. These others are separating as the night wears on. You want to catch them early. This one you want to catch later, but it's great. Go out every 30 minutes and take a look at it. Go out every hour and take a look at it and see how the moon has closed on Elnath. I think that should be fun and interesting. Now, in the morning sky, let's check in on Venus. We've been tracking Venus all fall and through the winter, and we're going to lose it here pretty soon. It's getting harder and harder. It's getting closer and closer to sunrise. So it's a little bit harder to see, but it's still pretty good to see. For this week, it's still going to be rising about 2 hours before the sun. So it's still well up into the sky before we start to get too much glow of the twilight in the morning. And at the beginning, on the morning of the 16th, so the beginning of the week, it starts really near a 4.4 magnitude star. You got good dark skies. You catch this shortly after it's risen into the sky, and you've got a good horizon, so you don't have any glow of the sunrise yet, and you should be able to see this star, Xi Ophiuchi. You should be able to see it with the naked eye, if you got good clear skies without any optical aid. But you've got to start getting the wash of twilight, of the glow of the sun coming pretty soon, and it will wash that star out. So you might need binoculars, and it might help. But it's only 0.5 degree. That's a really close pairing. Should be beautiful to see Venus next to this star. So see if you can check that out. You go up another 3 degrees or so and drift over to the east some as you go up. I probably should have brought it more over that direction. And you're going to come to a nice globular star cluster M9. So see, probably you're going to need your telescope for that. So see if you can move up and drift over about 3.5 degrees. A finger at arm's length is about 1 degree. So a few finger widths up this direction to see if you can see M9 there. Now, if you go 13 degrees, a fist and a half width at arm's length, off to the east, you get to Antares, the big bright orange star in getting ahead of myself, in Scorpius. And so we got Scorpius here, and you got the 3 stars in the head of Scorpius that lead Antares up. The name Antares, Aries, for Mars, and it's a rival, so it's rival of Mars. And so it's big and bright and orange like Mars, and so it gets this name, rival of Mars. And so you can see this, Scorpius is ahead of Ophiuchus and Sagittarius rising into the sky. And so this should be well up into the sky and relatively easy to see. So you want to be out a little bit earlier to look at this region. If you're out a little bit earlier and see Antares, then you can find big big globular star clusters. Remember, these globular star clusters live in a halo around the center of the galaxy. The center of the galaxy is right on the Scorpius-Sagittarius border. So we're looking toward the center of the galaxy, and we have all of these big globular star clusters orbiting the center. So we saw M9 here. M4 sits right next to Antares. See if you can find it with your binoculars, or drift around with your telescope and find it there. If you've got the 3 brightest stars in the head of Scorpius, you go about halfway up to the upper of those brightest stars, and you come to M80. A nice, brighter, to me it's brighter than M4. M4 is impressive because M4 is big and sprawling and beautiful as a globular star cluster. M80 is tighter. It's a tighter knot of stars that you can see right there. Again, try it with your binoculars. Use your small telescope if you need to see it out there. So we've got 3 globular clusters we can see here in the morning sky. It tells us as we get around the summertime sky, this will be the evening sky as we get deep into summer, and we're looking directly toward the center of the galaxy then as the sun sets. So it tells us in the morning sky right now, we're looking toward the center of the galaxy. We're starting to see globular clusters dotted around. So that's the morning of the 16th. You can, of course, see Scorpius and the globular star clusters any morning of the week, but Venus is going to be tracking off this direction pretty rapidly as the week wears on. So it's going to pull away from Xi Ophiuchi. So it's not going to stay there at all. So you want to check that out on the morning of the 16th. That's what we got for you this week. Hope you have a great week. Hope you have some clear skies for some good observing. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone.